Welcome to today's event where we have the pleasure to present Penneo. To help us through today's presentation, we are full lineup, CFO Kasper Christensen and CFO Christian Stendevad. Today, I think we are moving a little bit away from the quarterly numbers, the focus on all that, and taking a little bit step back and looking on market and customers and the opportunities, the value proposition that you are delivering as a company, and thereby actually why are you growing and why should you grow in the future. So not absolutely also relevant for investors, but I'm sure you will take us through that, Christian. And also, as always, don't hesitate to ask questions down in the bar down below. I think we will run the presentation 10-15 minutes, and then we will do the Q&A afterwards, unless something really perfect fits in. But for now, Christian, I will hand the word over to you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity to go now into the business rather than always talking about numbers. That will be in a little bit over a month. So let's go into who Penneo is, and we are a business-to-business software as a service company. So it is a subscription model that we have as a business model, and we have more than 2,500 customers. And our focus is on digital signing, document workflows, and then know your customer, which is part of the AML, anti-money laundering regulations. And today we have customers in Denmark, Sweden, and Norway, Finland, Belgium, and Germany. And you know, the majority of our customers are in the Scandinavian countries, and then less in Finland and Belgium, and one in Germany. And then we have an all aim of become the preferred platform for auditors and accounting across Europe. And we are a growth company, and as part of that growth, that today, as a number of employees, we are 115, and keep growing. And when we then look back, not that long time ago, then we were 80, and not that before that, even like 50 and 40. So it's a growth company, both in numbers and of employees, and also in financial numbers. And here we have just put up some historic milestones, and there's been a lot over the years. But just to give a brief of our historical, founded in 2014, and that was also when the first Big 10 accounting company signed annual reports with our solution. So from the very beginning, it was the digital signature together with the electronic ID to make the highly secured signature solution that were in play. And 2 years afterwards, we signed a contract with the first, number 500 customer. So in those 2 years, we added 500 customers. And then in 2017, one of the key milestones there was that we expanded first to Norway, signing with our first customers in Norway. And later that year, we also signed with our first Swedish customer. So that's where we started the journey outside of Denmark, and that we still today in our financial reports called foreign markets, and our domestic market is Denmark. In 2018, we had a milestone of that we signed with all the Big 10 accounting companies. So that underlined our product market fit for the auditing and accounting industry. That was what we will come back to, our tier one. And then in 2019, 1,600. And then that was just before we then planned and then went IPO'd, that we did in June 2020. And we also at that point of time raised additional 50 million in growth capital to grow the company. We can also see that when we look into a number of employees, and until then, more or less 19 and early 20, it was a bootstrapped strategy, and then we went on First North, got growth capital, and then grew from there. And then also in 2020, we bought CLA Reply, their KYC software activities. So we added KYC to our revenue stream. So we both have sign, and then at that point in time also KYC, a small entrepreneurial company. And then in 2021, then we signed with the first Big Four in all the Nordic countries. So meaning also including Finland, and it was also there where we signed our first KYC Big Four company. And then in 2022, we had a lot of things that we could have said. We also meant on main markets. We also have developed a lot into our sign solution, so that we started off with in the 14, and that was to become on the European Trust list. And so we have prepared everything for it, being audited, and now we are still pending the approval that according to the authorities should become within days. So we are still waiting for that, and then we can be on the EU Trust list, having the highest level of qualified signatures. It was also in 2022 that we expanded to our agreement with bank data. So we also cover 1.6 million private customer with bank data's member institution, which constitute, for example, Sydbank or Jyske Bank and other banks. So some key milestones. If we then look into some of what are the key customer pains that we are solving? We are solving manual processes, time-consuming processes that we have. And as an example that we often use is this manually signing, handling, and filing documents with multiple stakeholders that can be heavy, like an annual report. If any of you have ever tried an annual report, then you would know that the auditors need to sign different documents, the exec management team need to do it, the board member need to do it, the chairman of the annual general meetings, and all things have to do in a certain order, very different specific documents, and all these, that's what we are doing, automating, and also with digital signatures that can be much more smooth. Similar also with KYC processes, there's a lot of manual processes out there. And if we take the next one, as part of that is also the whole compliance and highest level of security that are part of that, that both go for digital signatures, but also for KYC. What need to be solved is in the regulations that need to be followed. And by doing that with a system that supports it, then you are secure that you follow all the steps that you need to do in the right order, and that you can prove afterwards that you have on the right compliance level. And then last but not least, a customer pain is the customer experience, both themselves when they are using the solution in a smooth way, but also their end customer. So the ones that they are sending it out to, they also get a great experience, that it is easy to deliver. And that's part of the overall agenda of there's a lot of manual processes that can be digitalized, where we reduce costs, and then at the same time also become or stay compliant. So that's some of the key customer pains that we are solving. And as part of with the KYC that we bought in and added to our revenue streams in 2020, that's part of the anti-money laundering the regulation, where certain sectors need to be compliant with the new legislation. And there's a reason why anti-money legislation is up there. Is if you take, there's an estimate that 1.7 trillion euros, so equivalent to 2 to 5% of the global GDP, is that amount of money is laundered globally every year. So it's a huge problem that the authorities want to fight, and where we all play an important role in, the ones that have anything to do with money and money transferred. And so being KYC compliant is not only a legal duty that you do just because you need to be compliant with the legislation, is also a very good way of ensuring high level of trust and transparency in the business relationships that we have. And there are certain customer industries that need to comply with it, auditors, accounting, legal advisors, financial institutes like banks and insurance, and it can also be like real estate, and others that are part of the AML regulation that need to comply with this, and that's who we are supporting. And for that, we have two product offerings. We have the Penneo Sign and the Penneo KYC. That's what we call our two products. And with the Penneo Sign, that's with the digital signatures. That is driven by mainly efficiency. So when we go out and we look at that market, that it is efficiency. That's the reason for that. And what we do and what is special about the Penneo Sign solution compared to our competition, that is that we have in the industry and custom signing flows. So as an annual report, as I just used the example before, there are many steps that need to be in a certain order when these documents are approved and signed by different stakeholders. They also there's a lot of documents that need to be signed, so you need to make sure that it is signed in the right order, the different documents. And that's where we have co-created the solution together with the auditing and accounting and also other industries, for example, property admin or others, where these flows, we can support them so it really automates their business processes and make it easy both for them to follow up, but also for their end customers. And as part of that, then the whole multi-signing, that as an end user, you only need to sign once all the different documents. That's a huge help compared to others competitors, where you often have to do it one by one. And then with the full audit trail of it, and you secure that you have the full document compliance. And we do it with the highest level of security. That's our Penneo Sign solution. And if you go into our KYC, the thing that you need to do when you have a KYC solution, then as a company, you are obliged to do a risk assessment of a customer that you have, either it's a new one or one that you do continuously business. So if you are an auditor and you are onboarding a customer, then you need to do this risk assessment. And that means if it is a business that you are entering and to do the audit, then you need to know who are the owners of that business and what is their background, and check that up against. First, you need to do a risk assessment, and then you get up against, you can say, sanction list and whether they are politician, for example, so the PEP list. And then you identify who is who, collect all documentation, do your risk score, and then need to keep that record for compliance reason. And the whole data collection, maybe some of you have been, you can say, sending documentation over emails, but that need to be, you can say, collected in a secure manner and then saved in a secure manner. And then it need to be ongoing monitored, because senior management or board members or owners do change. So you need on an ongoing basis to do that monitoring and then update your risk assessment. And the system here supports that process. So it reminds you or alert you if that is needed to be done, because it's syncing up against different data sources. So that's what we do. And that area is heavily regulated. I would say that's based on the regulation. That's the reason why the company are doing this and provide that and are implementing that. And if we then go into, so I have put up now to you.
Perfect.
Yes.
Thank you, Christian. Thank you, Mike. Yeah, back in the days, we saw that if we should create an effective go-to-market strategy, we saw that one of the biggest problems we could solve was from the audit and accounting team, since they have, what you also talked about, this, they have a lot of documents, they have an order, they have a time frame and so on. And that's one of the core thing about our today's go-to-market strategy, that we in tier 1 focus on audit and accounting. It also has the side effect that we have a network effect, meaning that by having auditors in, all the client is presented for Penneo solution as an end users, while we have a kind of brand awareness at the and what we call network effect here. Besides tier 1, we have tier 2. That's defined by being relevant for AML, government, industries, and the third tier is this network effect, like a company who is not having the need for AML on our customer tools. And when we built up this go-to-market strategy, we could ask ourselves, why having this niche focus on auditors? First of all, by having this focus on auditors and accounting, we believe that we can create stronger products for them. Like when we acquired CLA Reply back in 2020 October, it was a part of. If you look at audits and accounting, they have they need to onboard and be compliant with the regulations. They need to send customer data into the ERP system, and then they need to have an annual report and so on signed when they're done their auditing. And the customer onboarding, the AML part, is a part of the value chain if you look at an auditor's workload. And another benefit for having this focus is that we can see that we could upsell new revenue streams like the new customers to the same customers like audit accounting. And also, when we look at the biggest auditor firms, they have a lot of international relationships with their colleagues in Europe. So we have all the opportunities to get the meetings out there if we ask for that. And then again, this network effect, like having all the clients, the auditors' clients in our platform as end users, meaning that they have seen Penneo and how easy it is to be an end user, even that you have to sign a lot of documents in a correct order and so on. Just a short status, when we became IPO'd back in 2020, we have approximately 1,600 customers. Today, we have more than 2,500. Back then, approximately 90% of our ARR was coming from outside of Denmark, meaning foreign market. And today, the domestic market is up to 70%, and 30% is coming from foreign markets. And then I know, Michael, you ask from time to time, how much of your ARR is coming from Know Your Customer? Today, it's approximately 10%. It's a bit less than 10% of our ARR is coming from Know Your Customer revenue streams. And of course, it's a new field for us. The signing solution has been there since 2014. So I'm glad to see that we start scaling on also on the Know Your Customer.
And there's a relevant question already here. Are you only cross-selling to existing customers, or are you also selling it on its own?
Today, we have approximately 250 customers on the Know Your Customer solution. 100 of them, approximately numbers here, is already signed customers. So you can see if you see tier 1 and tier 2 here, you have 1,600 potential customers on the Know Your Customer solution, and approximately 100 of them is customers already. So we have a huge potential when it comes to cross-sell the solution for them.
But with these numbers, we can also see that when say KYC by itself can also be sold as an individual solution, and then later on, then we could add sign. So it's both from a new biz, and then it's also upsell to existing customers.
Do you actually have a KYC outside the Nordic region sold yet, or is that? I guess there must have been a longer built-up market for the KYC solutions, because regulatory we have had for many years, document signing digitally first really coming to Europe and outside Denmark. So do we have any KYC outside Denmark standalone, or do you expect it to go into signature and then also upsell to KYC abroad?
Yes, we do have also outside Denmark. We also have KYC customers that are only KYC and not signed customer. One of the examples that we went out with was a PwC in Norway. They have KYC but not signed, as an example. We do not have any KYC customer outside the Nordic countries. So, for example, in Belgium, we do not yet, because simply we have not released it for the Belgian market yet. But they are asking about it because they can see it. Yeah. So there is a clear market for it. Good. So then, and going in from a strategy point of view, we have a twofold strategy. It is both continue to grow in existing markets where we are, and also geographical expansion into a new market. And that is new market, that is Europe. And that we do with, say, some investment streams. One of them is upsell our Penneo KYC to all our products, to all our auditing and accounting companies. So now we said we have 100, so there is still, say, 700 more to go. And then outside there, we also add in our tier 2, and that's the second revenue stream. Simply penetrate even more the AML governed industries with both our Penneo KYC, but also signed product. And then last but not least, this fuel our expansion to European, to other countries. And now we're talking about a lot about the Nordic, but we also entered Belgium some years ago. So in 2020, we won our first customers, and then the year afterwards, we added 16 to that. And then when I look at 2020, when we got people on the ground, because now we could see that it was mature enough and we were ready for it, then we added people in Belgium, and then here we have now more than 70 customers in Belgium, as an example. And one of the things when we didn't go back, we often ask, so what is the difference between the Nordics and Denmark and then outside? And in Belgium, when we ask there, then around 60% of the auditing and accounting, when we go out there, they do have manual processes today. So we do not replace anything, and then 40% they do have some kind of a solution, but not as advanced and not something that has been, say, specifically for the auditing and accounting. So the market outside, I would say, the Nordic countries, and when we go south, like Belgium or Germany and others, is very different. We are so used to in Denmark that everything is digitalized already, that you can use electronic ID everywhere you go, and that you're used to do sign things, for example. That is not the case when you go outside in the markets.
And there actually is a question there. Is there any difference in the competition, competitive side in markets outside Denmark, or let's say the Nordic region? You are very dominant in Denmark. Markets are starting to penetrate. So I think maybe you alluded a little bit on it by saying, you might exchange not so efficient solutions instead of having to be the first one onboarding a digital solution. Is that some of the differences on the competitive side?
Yeah, and there is a big difference between when we are looking at the other Nordic countries, Sweden and Norway. For example, Sweden, they do have some very strong competition also. And that's where we, with our very focused strategy, where we go after our specific industries, where we are differentiating ourselves with our solution, that's how we compete. And then you have in other countries, like, for example, Belgium, where they simply less digitalized. So there, the competition is also less, and we do not even say they have not chosen a solution yet, and they are not as digitalized as some of the other countries. So the Nordic competition is heavier. Yeah, and that's for the sign solution. For the KYC, it's a little bit different, simply because that market is so new. So the competition is also like us. We did not start that long time ago. So the company we bought was 3 years old, and now it's 2 years ago, so it's 5 years. But it's still immature in the sense that many new of these industries, apart from the banks, they do not have a system today doing it manually. So you say it's we are doing a lot of innovation to put into that product to support the needs.
So I maybe had in my head that KYC is a much more mature product. It's much more of you competing with others because we have had this AML regulation, but that has only been in the banks. Is that rightly understood, that there's actually a little bit of a virgin market if you move outside the bank? So it's kind of the same as getting a digital signature in the start. Should I understand that correctly? That's what you are facing actually.
Yeah, fully correct. So the way they do it today, the ones that are obliged to do it, they do it manually or with some homegrown systems, or simple, where they store things, they send out email and ask for it, or they maybe have a simple portal where you add these things, but they don't have a full structured way and fully automated processes with where it automatically check up against sanction list and PEP list and check up against the data providers with business and so on. So all this, that is new, and the majority of outside of the banks, they do not yet have a solution in place. So there we are replacing manual task or very simple solution.
And is that, if I should look at it, the growth rate is could be higher in a regulated market when regulations changes and everybody needs to fulfill into it. So except, efficiency, that's a harder sell in economic downturn. So are there, the regulation has been there for some time. So it has been done manually. So it could be a push suddenly that when you start to see solutions that is actually simple, that also might get a push upwards. So what is driving that? I guess the regulation has been there for some time.
Yeah, there are two things. First, it has been there for some time, but it is an ongoing. It is, it's being more and more strict. So the regulation that the companies have to live up to get more and more strict, and they are now being audited. So and therefore, when they're getting auditors, then they basically are getting checked that they follow the legislation in the right way, consistently across all their customer on an ongoing basis, documented in the right way, and also how they did their risk assessment and how they did their checks. With this external audit comes in from the business authority, not only in Denmark, but also in Sweden, Norway, Belgium, and others. That's where you find out, okay, do we do it good enough or not? A little bit the same as with speed limits. We have law where we can only drive, let's say, 50 kilometers an hour in town. Is that the same that everybody is doing it? Not necessarily, except if you have speed cameras and police controls and all. Then people start to learn. It's a little bit the same, that they're now getting checked. So therefore, they need also really dig into it. At the same time, that also legislation get harder. So that's what we tie into business-wise, and it's also been broadened up to more and more industries what they need to do.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a combination, and it's EU legislation that are running it, and then every country by themselves need then to see, okay, how do we do the interpretation of that? And that goes to maybe our last slide also, that we can go to, and that's new markets, because part of the last one that we're investing into it is really the new markets, and how do we evaluate that in a new market? And one thing is the market maturity. There is a DEC score, that's a score of the level of digitalization combined with the EID adoption rate. We are so used in Denmark and the Nordic countries that it's, the adoption rate is very high. But you just go south to Germany as an example, it's very low, that one. But they have it as a high priority now to do something about it. So we look into how mature is it. Not come too early into a market and not come too late. It's fine to find the right moment. Then we look into the EIDs. So what is there of providers already that we can tie into, and how can we integrate into it, because we are using the electronic ID as the authentication who you are. Then we also look into the competitive landscape, and there are changes that are done, and that's both sign and KYC, and especially in the industries that we are addressing, because often you know the big names, but that's not the same as our industries that where we are, and like audit and accounting, that they are strong there at all. And then we look into the partnerships and data providers. That's exactly for example, the KYC. Where do we get the business data? You say, who are the owners of a company and who is the owner of those? And when those changes, how can we extract that data? Because we need those data. And we have different data providers in the different countries. And then technology partners. So an auditors, they are using an accounting, they may use an accounting system, and then we integrate to those systems. So when we go into a new market, so when we get into Belgium, then we integrate it to Silverfin. It is broadly used, and then when we do the integration, then the solution become even more efficient. And then we look at basically also customer needs. What are the local and regional requirements from the customers, and how are they doing it? And then of course the legal legislation around, because they're different from country to country, including also how they use the EID and what is required, what kind of signature level is required. We are used to advanced signature level on a certain level. Now we are becoming on the qualified e-signatures. That's especially needed when we go south for certain use cases. So that's part of the evaluation steps that we do. And the thing is, it is not the same as we have here in Denmark or in some of them say Sweden or Norway. It's very different when we go south, and we would like to invest when the time is right. So yes, so that was basically the last. Just to also mention that one, which we are really looking into.
Just to return a little bit, and I would like to ask the question: is there any problems with you not getting this? Getting on the preferred list of the digital signatures? I think you expected, and has that actually postponed some market going outside? Did you want to push through that, or is that just icing on the cake when you go outside and say we have this higher level to some customers?
Yeah. Short term is very short term is icing on the cake in the sense that we did not prepare that suddenly in January. There are a lot of new things happen, but it is true. We came out and also communicated that we expected at the end of the 2022 the authorities would give us the stamp, and they have now written to us. They are a couple of weeks delayed, so that means that's the reason why I say we have our expectation that anytime soon they have received everything they have. We have answered any question they had. So it's really about. Yeah, maybe even when we had the meeting that we could have had that so it is really short term. So we are in good dialogue with them, and we are patient. And when that goes, then we are able to offer, say on the highest level, and then that starts phase up. But with our current solution, like we have, for example, in Belgium, we are fully supportive of the use cases. So it's more to add even more use cases. So it's afterwards, and plus the brand, of course, that we are on the highest level.
We will have breaking bars down below in yellow if it comes while we are having the event.
Yeah.
Then there's a question here. Have you considered using sales partners to a higher degree outside the Nordic region? A lot of you can choose really to do a lot yourself or really to rely on sales partners. There's ups and downs by that. You give away power, but you maybe also get some more muscle. So is there anything considering you are thinking on changing in the current model you are running?
So purely sales partner, meaning that say somebody else go out and sell on our behalf, that we are not considering such for now. That we are having our own people. But what we do is technology partnership, meaning that those companies where we integrate to, then we also have a partnership, so we can see that we get leads when they go out and talk to their customers. Then they say, yeah, but if you then add say a solution like with Penneo, where we have integrated to it, then you get even more advantages. That kind of cross-selling across our partners, that's what we help, but that's not the same that they only focus on selling our things. So that's how we see the advantage. We would also like to meet them. We also see partnerships in the sense that across borders with the auditors, they're not sales partner, but they do help us into we can get a meeting, for example, in Germany based on our relationship with the same companies in the other countries where we are already located.
So there's no thinking about creating a direct partnership, simply a sales partner, just to push your products out without you using your own muscle or creating that. That's not in the strategy. Not
for now, no, but it's a good question. Yeah.
Do you report numbers on churn rate on your home market versus foreign countries? I've seen you grown a lot in the foreign markets the last couple of, and it hasn't changed your churn rate. So, but do you report it, and do you expect there to be any difference in the long run in the churn rate between a really strong home domestic market and maybe a little bit abroad?
I think you're absolutely right, Michael. We are happy about the low churn we have. And the short answer is that we are not disclosing our split on churn. Since if we do it here, we need to do it firmly and every time we report. So I cannot give the insight here. Sorry.
No, perfect. Then there's a problem. DocuSign has problems. Will you too have it? And if I may, I don't know whether you want to answer that, but if I may allude that, you also started talking a little bit about that there has been some pull forward, which is their problem also, pull forward due to the corona, clients being maybe pushed into something a little bit earlier. So do you see that also? I'm not talking about maybe problems, but are you experiencing that? And maybe around that, when do you think that will normalize? Maybe that push forward. I know it's very hard questions, but I'm trying to not just have to answer about competition and whether you will have the same problems.
Yeah, and I think we are back to what is basically the key driver for taking a decision. So I don't want to go into DocuSign what the kind of problems they have, but what we have reported also during the autumn is this caution buying behavior. People are simply holding back, and as part of that, we also have experienced and have also communicated that it's not necessarily the number of new customers that come in and buy, but it's when they come, they commit to less. They're simply cautious in it compared to earlier, when it's very much driven by the efficiency. We also see the similar on KYC, if it's possible. They buy small and then enhance it afterwards. But in an efficiency, you can postpone it. Maybe you don't take the advantage now, but you can always take it. That's it. With the regulation, when something is with the KYC driven by regulation, that we see still a cautious buying behavior, but we expect that the more audits that are seen in the different industries, the more focused they are. So what we also now, also in the new market, but also in the existing market, we can see when we go out, then they might see, okay, it's good with the sign, but basically right now we just want to talk about the KYC by itself. Maybe start small, but still that is high on the agenda simply because of regulation and those audits. So and when is, but this the whole recession and the cautious buying, when will that stop? Yeah, some say will they be less when we have a year, some say 6 months, some say sooner, some say even later. We don't know, but of course we are following it very carefully. But as
to allude a little bit about the pull forward, and I know it's you cannot give percentage wise or something like that, but has it been two really high growth rates in the past that will go a lot down, or is it a little bit of a feeling that maybe some of the business has been pulled a little bit forward, but you don't think that the growth rates will be that much more different in the future?
Yeah, that's a good question, and we also look into it. And I've just in very broad sense. Then I would just say right now it's difficult fully to see. We see the effect here during the autumn. How long that will be for us is very difficult. Sometimes we see sign up, yeah, let's do it, and other times they hold back. So it's hard. Let's see. Let's wait a little bit. Then some months or half a year, then it's easier to answer.
I think the official answer will be that our guidance for next year is coming out end of February.
Yeah, then we will have a decide on our from a numbering point of view. Yeah.
We need to try to to get it, but you don't need to answer. How will you make sure you're innovative leader in the market? Any product development, and maybe also alluding to the next question here. And I don't expect you to give away what are your thoughts on the expected next opportunity like KYC? Is there some optionality that you see maybe lying in we know that in the SaaS business, if you have a lot of optionalities growing in different markets, growing in new markets, but also on the product side, you kind of get a higher valuation. So how do you stay innovative leader in the market, and do you see at least possibilities without saying it that there's something you could expand into your current target group of customers?
Yeah, and it's a very relevant question. And so for now, we are very focused on our KYC and sign because we simply see the opportunity and the market is there. And therefore, we prioritize short-term focus. So we secure that we really get out there and expand based on that. But at the same time, we are always looking at other opportunities also. So what could be there? There are no concrete plans, but the KYC is a good example of what we did when we evaluated and then added another one. So of course, in the future, there might be other ones. So it's to find that right balance between focus, and then looking at opportunity that are closely related to what we do today. But for the innovation, where the question was all about, part of our growth capital that we raised in 2022 has been invested into our product. and the whole innovation around that with more people. And now also lately, just before Christmas, we also announced and that we have a new CTPO, so Chief Technology Product Officer, has started. And we also have, if you follow up, a lot of other positions that we have open, and that we now have got more people into it. And that's to secure the innovation, so we continually innovate, and therefore get that and stay with that advantage that we have.
And if I might touch a little bit, innovation, it's easy to say. Is that end user experience, your customer's experience of getting it, getting more efficiency out of it? I think a lot of software fails when when customers don't know how to really use it, and the end user don't like it, even if the company thought it was brilliant. So is that where you are doing the innovation, or is it some other places?
I think it's kind of twofold. That if you think about the future for Penneo, as Christian said, we have not any concrete plans, so I'm not here to disclose anything. But what you could imagine is that we could kind of take advantage of this network effects. Like if you're satisfied as an end user on our platform, think, okay, it was pretty easy to sign all this document in the correct order and correct time frame and so on. I want to be a customer itself. Then we, of course, have some thoughts of how can we actually enable all the end users in the login they have today. Some thoughts could be there, and for auditors, it could be a lot of ideas. What manual tasks are they doing today, and so on. So I think there's a lot of ideas, but what Christian said, focus, and focus. We have a lot of things to do. On the first slide, you saw that we are aiming for being the preferred platform for auditors in Europe. I think that's a huge statement to have. So we have enough on our plate.
So nothing is missing in what you might call your technology stack to get to that. I know you need to innovate and make and stay ahead, but the current technology stack is strong enough to get you there. Is that how I should understand it on those two areas here?
Yeah. Within the areas, of course, they are now also being enhanced with the new feature set and new approaches and so on. But yes, otherwise correct.
And then before I let you off the hook, a lot of other companies in different industries, and especially in the efficiency industry, which you are in, publish through market intelligence and such, a ROIC, or a return on investment. What is the efficiency gains? Are you in any thinking on white papers or anything on doing that? So really to prove what is the return on investment, what is the payback time on actually going from a manual procedure to a digitalized one?
Yes, I'm sure we can always be better, but we do publish, and we also share with our customers the other customers' experiences. For example, this thing about how fast can you get all your documents through approval and signed. And for some, they said they went from 5 days where they had to wait to 37 minutes. That was one that was shared among a Belgian customer. So they really saw the advantage there. So something similar like that are being shared among the customer, and we provide the data foundation for that.
Yeah, but you don't have something out that I know it's also important, but in that 5 days they would have used 2 man-hours to just follow the case or something like that. You don't have anything of that, or in the cards to publish something like that.
We could. I will look into it. What we have, because we do share it with say prospect and customers. Of calculations. Yeah.
Perfect. I will let you off the hook. Thank you, Christian and Kasper, for taking us through your maybe especially the questions. But thanks, and may everybody have a nice day.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.